Moving on to number 7. I'm still kind of toying around with this, so I'm going to practice this one as it's coming together in my research. It's just so funny. I spend, probably 5 or 6 months researching this stuff, and it takes me about 5 minutes to do a video. But I think my intention is that I will just keep getting better and hopefully able to defend students when it comes to questioning education in a very intellectual way. That's my goal. Okay, so this one's kind of tricky, so bear with me, I hope. So for 7, when I introduced 7 before, I talked about 7 sins and virtues, and I just try to find something that people can relate to. So when I think of the number 7, it gives me a sense of being grounded. It's like, okay, what do I think of 7? And then I think what I find interesting, and I might have said this before, which is I find that people will be able to identify the sins faster if you say, what are the 7 sins? People are ready to say the sins but not necessarily know the virtues. But I think it's the other side of the sinful behavior that maybe I need to focus on. So, but to understand that, what I did was I took these concepts that I've kind of developed. So again, we have time, space, time, my 4-dimensional variable game, which I just came up with my own variables to describe the quadrants in my own little unique way. That's just what I do. And then for 7, so I kind of went back and thought about a little bit of math, just kind of basic math, I guess. But when I thought about the angles of triangles in this situation, and I think I've mentioned this before, which was with COVID, students staying home, you kind of slowed down that progress, which that created a panic within the business community, because what they saw was they were progressing, financially with the system that we have now quite smoothly, and then COVID happened, and it's almost like we shifted that gap away from profits. And so in order to regain that, it's businesses doubling down, as they said, in order to push more students into this framework. Okay? So when I was thinking about sine and cosine and tangent, the sine of an angle with a 90-degree triangle, I do sound like I don't. I'm just winging it. But when I think about sine, and then cosine would just be the other angle. But when I think about the angle, there's an angle that you consider in geometric patterns, but there's also an interpretation of angle, which is like, what's your angle? Meaning, what do you really want? What are you after? And usually angle has a connotation of nefarious. I'm trying to work on my vocabulary too. It doesn't have a positive. It's like you go to a car dealer. Sorry, car dealerships. You go to a car dealer and it's like, what's your angle? Because their angle is, what do we need to do to get you into this automobile? Or in our situation, it's what can we do to make sure that we can gain and get the most profits off of this mandated schooling as we possibly can. So when I think about angle, I think about maybe sine and cosine, but I'm also thinking about, again, that word has an idea behind it that it's not nice. It's like somebody scheming to get you to give up your money, your property, something like that. So sine, cosine, and tangent. And then I just thought, how convenient, because sine is also spelled sin. And the definition of a sin are actions, any thoughts, words, or an act is considered immoral, selfish, shameful, harmful, or alienating might be termed sinful. Injuring others, a separation from the truth, is considered a sin. Keeping someone from themselves is considered a sin. Transgressions against a universal moral code, which by definition is life, liberty, and the pursuit of wakefulness, sleeping. I don't know. And then what I consider that is if you have a large population, debt in general, historically speaking, as it's been interpreted up until now, any debt acquired is considered a sin, because anybody in debt really can't begin to fulfill their truths because they're too busy working to get out of this hierarchy. So usury is the practice of making unethical or immoral loans that unfairly enrich the lender, taking advantage, exploitation. A user used to be known as a loan shark. And the list of philosophers, philosophies, religions from Muhammad to Moses, the Roman Empire, that usually meant exploitation of the poor. And co-sinners are people who aren't the direct sinners. They're not the ones that are taking money or putting somebody into debt, but they go along with it. So you've got the original, I don't want to say original sin, you've got the sin, which is separation from the truth. You have, in my explanation, you have people who are supporting this. They might not be directly involved, but they are the ones that are making sure that this system stays as is, which is my tangent. And tangents are really fun because I consider tangents that line like just outside of the circle, right? So we had a circle up here before. A tangent would be that line that's just kind of like, I think I'm getting this and I'm going to have a tangent in my own way, which is, a tangent is what I do in my videos, right? I just go off on these tangents. I try to give myself some kind of grounding, but essentially they're just conversations. But they're conversations that go outside of the sine cosine in my book. See, I'm kind of struggling on this one, but I'm thinking that I've got something here. Because if you want to talk about a sin in any religion, any belief, any philosophy, any empire, to be in debt, really without any hope of getting out of it, can you see how that's injurious to a human being? So as I'm seeing the big picture, if you're in debt, these $1 trillion as a whole, historically speaking, that's a sin. But we're not talking about that, are we? We're not saying how immoral it is that, well, maybe we are, or you are, but the intellectual properties in the Middle Ages, they were called indentured servants, right? It's just, you will work on my land. We will tell you the space that you will inhabit, right? We will tell you what to think. This is what you were destined to do. And maybe that's true. Maybe all of this is just in vain from my part. But if that's true, then why aren't business management systems more transparent? Why don't you just say, we need you. We need your bodies to be in this desk because someday you're going to be working for us. And we just need you to be as compliant as possible for our profits. Yeah. So that's it.